Needs assessment or needs analysis? The age-old conversation. Perhaps you're wondering which one you should be using and when and how. Well, we're going to be discussing exactly that. My name's Tom, I'm the Learning Ambassador here at Colossyan, and today we're diving into the differences between needs assessment and needs analysis and how to conduct each for maximum effect. Let's get into it. First things first, we need to define our terms. Needs assessment and needs analysis are not the same thing, and the terms are not interchangeable. Needs assessment is the process of identifying and evaluating the needs of a particular group or organisation. It's about understanding what's currently happening and what needs to change. Think of it like a broad diagnostic tool. It helps you figure out where the gaps are. Needs analysis, on the other hand, is much more detailed. It digs deeper into those already identified needs to understand the root causes and how best to address them. That's like being a detective. Once you know there's a problem, you need to gather evidence and figure out why it's happening. So when should you use each? And this is the killer question. And there's no universally correct answer. You're going to have to use your own experience and intuition to guide your decisions here. But as a general guide, needs assessment should be your go-to when you're starting from scratch or when you need a big picture overview. It's ideal for new projects and organisational change. Needs analysis comes into play when you have a clear idea of what the problem is and need to design targeted interventions. It's perfect for ongoing projects, performance issues, and when feedback highlights specific areas of concern. Now, those are only a guideline, so it's really important that you get comfortable with both an analysis and an assessment, and then start making decisions about which one is the best choice for your project. But how do you conduct them? That's the next big question, and we'll start by taking a look at how you might want to conduct a needs assessment. Like we just said, there's no universal truth here, but this gives you a really strong foundation on how you may want to approach the process. The first thing is to define the scope. This is basically asking the question, what areas or issues are you looking at? Now, we mentioned that this is supposed to be a broad look, but you can't generally look at the whole business at once. You're going to have to prioritise, even if it's just the area or function of the business that you're going to be looking at. Next up, you're going to need to collect data. Now, for a needs assessment, you're probably going to be looking at user surveys, interviews, focus groups, and existing business data. You may also want to consider feedback from line managers and stakeholders in this process. Once you've gathered all that data, it's going to be time to do some analysis. Here, you're looking for patterns and gaps. Generally speaking, I like to think of this as looking for the bit that doesn't make sense. Because those gaps in the data, or the story that the data is telling you, are usually red flags to say something here needs your attention. Based on that, you're almost never going to find a single thing. You're going to find lots and lots of those gaps, those red flags saying, hey, you need to do something here. And that means it's time to prioritise need. This is going to be driven not just by what you want though, it's going to be driven by business priorities. You're going to need to decide which of these things you've found are critical to the business and so will be looked at first. It doesn't mean throwing everything else away, just not prioritising it right now. Finally, it's time to report your findings. Now, it would be easy here to just share your report with your stakeholders, your SMEs, maybe the rest of the L&D department. Instead, start thinking of this as an opportunity to show the value of completing assessments and analysis processes to the wider business. Format your report as an executive report and share it as broadly as you can within the senior leadership team of the business. If you can create something that has value to other departments, it becomes a much easier sell in future to have time put into your projects for both needs analysis and needs assessment. One overarching piece of advice when doing a needs assessment is to keep it broad. There will always be the temptation to get deep quick. Instead, focus on gathering as much information as possible and don't be afraid to ask tough questions to get it. If you find something that you think really needs much more complex and deeper analysis, well, it might be time for a needs analysis in that particular area. As it's come up, let's jump straight into what a needs analysis process might look like. We start by identifying specific issues. Now, this may come out of a needs assessment that's identified something that needs a deeper analysis. It could also come from direct feedback from users or employees or stakeholders. It could also be that the business has a significant and clearly identified performance problem. Whatever the source is, it needs to be as specific as possible. You need to pinpoint the exact problem you're there to conduct an analysis on. Next, you're going to be gathering data, but this time it's a little bit different. You're going to be conducting much more in-depth interviews, probably doing job role observations and task analysis. You're going to be looking at performance data in a much more detailed and granular way. This is going to take longer. The reason for this is that you're no longer looking for trends and gaps. You don't want red flags anymore. You're looking to determine root causes of the problem. This means you're going to need to use tools like the 5 whys and fishbone diagrams. If you're not familiar with either of these, let me know down in the comments and we can do videos on them in the coming weeks. Once you've done that, it's time to start developing solutions. Now, this is going to start as a brainstorming session. Don't do this alone. Get together some peers, some SMEs, stakeholders, have different ideas coming around, and definitely don't limit that session to just your L&D department. Bring in different ideas, get comms and marketing, and if you're lucky enough to have a product team in your business, get them involved as well. Do a big brainstorm, and then when you've got a few potential interventions, start evaluating them. Primarily, you're looking for things that are going to be effective. But once you've got all your effective solutions, you're then going to want to identify which of them is most efficient. These are the 2 ways that we should always be considering a potential intervention. Is it effective? Is it going to lead to the change that we want to see? And is it the most efficient way of delivering that? Basically, are you wasting company money and resources when you don't need to? With development complete, it's time to implement and evaluate. This means rolling out your solution, ideally to a pilot in the first instance, allowing you to launch, get feedback and iterate, and then roll it out to larger and larger parts of the business. This gives you the security of knowing that by the time you're rolling out your solution to large audiences, it's a proven entity. You know it works. Now, knowing something works really is all about moving the performance metric that we're trying to improve. But that can't always be seen straight away. So it's important that, yes, we focus on really important metrics to the business, those performance numbers, but that we also have a range of other nearer term metrics that we know we're going to see changes in much earlier in the process. They may not be the end goal, but they are indications of a positive direction of travel that reassure us that things are going as expected. Now, this process, as you can see, is much more focused, much more detailed, and aimed at getting to the heart of a specific issue. Now, there are 2 things that we haven't discussed so far in this video. First of all, is it just pedantic to talk about the difference between needs assessment and needs analysis? No, it's not. These 2 processes are not the same thing. They are linked, they will often be done in the same project, but potentially at very different times, potentially by different people, potentially even by different teams. And it's essential that we as L&D professionals are using the right process for the right situation and the right names to describe those processes. It allows us to communicate clearly with the business and set reasonable expectations. We often complain that we're not given the time to conduct either needs assessment or needs analysis, but perhaps one of the reasons businesses aren't willing to give us that time is that we're unable to articulate exactly what it is we want to do with it. And the second thing, very much of the moment, is this a job that AI can do for me? And the answer there is a little bit more mixed. Now, it absolutely can't do either of these tasks for you, but it can help you. AI tools can be incredibly valuable in both needs assessment and needs analysis. They can help analyze large data sets quickly, identify patterns and trends, and even predict future needs based on historical data. AI can assist in the generation of draft reports, provide alternative solutions, and challenge your assumptions. A good example here is that AI can automate survey analysis, highlighting key feedback points and even suggest areas for deeper investigation. That means you can focus on the things that you need to be doing. The important thing to remember though, as with any AI tool, is that you need to be in the loop. The process should start and end with you, with AI supporting you in the center. It's an enhancer, not a replacement to your skills and intuition as an L&D professional. So with all this in mind, let's recap some key points. Needs assessment is for identifying and evaluating broad business needs. Needs analysis digs deeper into specific issues to find root causes and solutions. We can use needs assessment for new projects and big picture overviews, whilst using needs analysis for detailed problem solving and targeted interventions. We can leverage AI tools for data analysis, pattern recognition, and solution generation, but must remember to keep the human in the loop. It starts and ends with you. And there we have it. We've covered how to decide between a needs assessment and a needs analysis, and how to conduct each effectively. Before you go though, there are 101 different ways we can approach these ways of working, and I'd love to hear how you do it. Let me know down in the comments, what's your top tip for either conducting needs assessment or needs analysis? If you found this video helpful, please consider giving it a like, sharing it with a colleague, and of course subscribing to the channel. If you fancy watching some more, we launch a new L&D Insights video every Friday morning, along with a supporting infographic. You can watch the entire playlist right here.